Welcome to NeuroMovement Revolution with Anat, Baniel, where you will discover breakthrough possibilities for your life through the brain's power to change. We're so happy that you can join us in making the impossible possible.
Okay.
We're ready to start the next episode.
And I thought before we start the next episode, just in case people didn't hear when we mentioned it before, that on Thursday we are having another online screening of A Life Unbound, the documentary about our work by Jordi Trifa. And there are going to be two showings on Thursday. One is at 9 o'clock California time, so that people in Europe can see it more easily. And then one is at 5:30 p.m. California time. And you can go to our website. There's a link for you to sign up to register, because you need to register to get the link, but it's free. And we want as many people as possible to see this movie, because it's beautiful. It talks about the work. It focuses on two of our clients, one a little boy with cerebral palsy and a young woman that we worked with stroke. Anat is interviewed in it. You see the families and the clients, and also there are some pretty wonderful neuroscientists who are interviewed, Michael Mertinick, Jill Bolte-Taylor, Martha Herbert, just to give you a sense of what the work is. So I hope you can join us. And now we move on to episode 19 of our NeuroMovement Revolution podcast. And the topic for episode 19 is imagination and dreams, the eighth essential for positive brain change. Einstein, one of our heroes, said, "Imagination is everything. It is the preview to life's coming attractions. Through imagination, your brain figures out new possibilities before actually having to perform. When imagining, the brain grows new neural connections. Our dreams call us from our future. They give us our unique life path to follow and guide our brains to continue growing and developing. Your imagination and dreams give you the ability to create something that has never been there before, transcending your current limitations and leading you to develop your authentic life path."
Okay. Do you want to start and say something about it first? And I'm going to have some water.
You have some water. I mean, this is such a powerful essential. It's not necessarily one of the easiest or most obvious to employ, but as Anat, said in that little preface there, you can imagine doing things that you cannot yet do. And you can imagine, even if it's something that you can already do to some extent, you can imagine doing it in a different way that may then lead on to you doing it in that different way. And one of the things that we always need people, or that you need to do in order to do something different, is to do it differently. Mm-hmm. You can't just learn to do something better or well by just repeating the same way that you're doing it over and over again. Or if you do get better, it's at a very sort of minuscule increments. But I use imagination with my clients a lot. I mean, I use it with myself a lot, but I certainly use it with my clients a lot. When I see them doing something, particularly if I see them doing it with a lot of effort, I say, okay, just stop. And now imagine doing the same thing, but imagine that it's easy and light and pleasurable and no effort. And it's amazing how quickly that can shift the whole being in front of you.
Yeah. Okay, so from my point of view, if I think about the functioning of the brain, imagination is a pretty high level function or skill or something that we can do. And again, children, when they're raised in a way that allows for it and they're, healthy, And they start employing imagination very, very powerfully at a certain age, right? Around, I think, probably by two, they already, in a sense, initially their imagination is that they don't have much separation between what we will consider reality and a dream or an imagination, and then gradually anyway. And you can see with for instance, some children on the autism spectrum, they don't seem to apply imagination much. They tend to repeat the same thing that that they've heard on a video, or so on and so forth. So imagination is a very, very potent application of the brain. And referring to the previous podcast on the learning switch, utilizing imagination requires the brain to work at a level that potentiates also learning. So again, I give this example over and over. If you're really, really tired, and if you've had a full day and you've had 2 glasses of red wine at dinner or something like that, and you want to create something new, you want to think about the possibilities, it's probably not going to be the time when you'll be very productive. Not because you couldn't do it or your brain is not good enough to do it. It's because at this moment it's not available to do it. I want to show it because I want to show that how dynamic it is. But then we can apply imagination intentionally, and we can train ourselves to do imagination better. In our work, one of the things we do is we have, let's say we do a movement lesson in a group, and you do it or some movement on the left side, and then we ask you to imagine doing it on the right side. So we give you a concrete experience, or you receive or you get through a concrete experience that gives you a basis to recreate it through your thinking and what we call imagination. And that can then go beyond that. So, and with children, I've done it a number of times with children on this autism spectrum that were clearly stuck in a rut. One of them was Thomas the Engine, and that was the one video and the 120-minute video, and he could recite it perfectly, and not only that, just pausing the video while I was working with him would, excuse my language, would kind of freak him out. He went into real profound agitation and anxiety. So I started I did whatever I did up until that point, but I started I'd say to him, I'm going to stop it and count to 1 and start it again. So I gave him some anticipation, which is not exactly an imagination, but at least it's kind of touching a little bit on it. And then I would stop it, count to 1 and start it again. And it was fast enough. And then there was a sense of control, right? There was predictability. And gradually, not all in one go, but over a few sessions, I started messing with it more and more. I'd stop it. I'd ask him to tell me what is coming up next. Then I would play it. Then I would say what happened before. And then I went to stop it and say, let's say Thomas the Engine went up the hill. I don't, whatever it was. I say, what do you think if Thomas went actually to the side and went all the way to the river? What do you think? Do you think Thomas the Engine gets thirsty? And you see, just the changes in this child were remarkable. But again, it wasn't drilling. It was gentle to see what he could handle. You can do it with feeding. Your child only wants, I don't know, maybe feeding is a little more complex there. But if the child is willing to eat different foods, you say, and what do you think? Do you want, is it going to come with a piece of tomato, or is it going to come with a piece of, tell me what it's going to look like. Let's make a salad and tell me what's going to be in that salad. So you start applying it, and then you can go into real play and real building stories together, and you put a piece in the child and there are other children around, and there's no criticism. There's no like, oh, that can't happen because people can't fly. We don't do that. It's imagination. So very powerful. And dreams, children sometimes very young age have a dream. Oftentimes it's influenced by they want to be a fireman or they want, but in life, not everybody defines it as a dream, but we have a dream. There is something we want to be, or to be like someone, or to do something in the world. And dreams are, having a dream, also for an adult, is a very, very, very important element of health. That healthy people have a dream, and when we fulfill our dream, we need to get a new one. And dreams don't have to be big. They can be, I want to have a vegetable garden in my backyard, which is wonderful. Or it can be, I would like to stop violence in schools or bullying. It can be anything. I have a dream. I want to transform, I don't know if it's a dream or intention, but I want to transform the way rehab is done. I think that there's just such easy ways to make it so much better. And of course, how bringing the opportunity for children with special needs and for the parents to use the tools would be to make everybody's lives better. So this is my dream. Now, questions.
So there's a great question here from Lisa Summerlin Moran. Hi. She says, I teach adaptive dance to school-age children, young adults with a variety of cognitive and physical disabilities, as well as medical, emotional, and social concerns once a week. I also lead a weekly seated movement group for seniors with dementia and memory impairments and physical challenges. Do you have any advice or suggestions for working with these groups? There are both similarities and differences with the two.
Absolutely, Lisa. First of all, Lisa, congratulations. You are doing amazing work. And I'm sure you're both elderly and the children gain tremendously from working with you. I've done some work with seniors in a senior, older people in an older home. Just as demos, I was invited, and I remember I started, and many of them were like either in wheelchairs or sitting. They were kind of like not medically dead, but like almost gone. And I wanted to do, and I'm sure you're already doing, first of all, the essentials are very powerful. So you ask them to do a movement. And Lisa, because of what you do, I will offer you a link to our program called NeuroMovement for the Busy Life. It used to be called Desk Trainer. It's all in chairs. And if you send us an email and, send it to admin, ADMIN, at anatbanielmethod.com, and tell Danny that I said so, that I'm offering to you. If you don't have it yet, it's lessons that are around 7 minutes long. You can take longer to teach them in sitting, very basic movement, very, very core functions. So it's easy for the brain to recognize what the movements are doing and wake it up and move it forward. So, and we're going to be applying that in a school program. We're going to bring it to school. We're doing a program in a couple of schools starting in 3 weeks. 2 weeks, something like that, soon. Anyway, and you just give the instruction and you use the essential, and you probably already do it, but you use clear voice. You don't talk down to them like, nah, nah, but you say clearly, like they can understand you. Take your hand, the right one. Some of them you might need to touch and say, that's your arm. And then you help lift it and say, that's picking it up. Now you're going to turn. And they'll do what they will do. Don't worry, you don't have to run and correct everybody. Because then you go to the next instruction. And in the video, you'll need to pause it and restart, pause and restart, because for people that you describe, it'll be too fast. But then you do the next one. Of course, you do it first yourself, so you recognize it. If you can project it on a screen, they will also be able to see it, which will be another level of input. And if it distracts them too much, turn off the TV part, just keep the sound on. Anyway, and what I discovered within a 35 minute period with this group, except for one person, they all were moving. They were twisting. The pelvis started moving. The lower back started working. The breathing improved. The eyes got clear. And the one thing is, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? And it was a heartbreak because I wasn't going to be able to come back. But and with the children, you can do these movements in a chair. You can do movements. I do a lot of movement in lying down if you are able to put them down on mats. I don't use yoga mats, or if I have yoga mats, I put on it, I buy those cotton movers mats and fold them in half so the ground gets softer, so it's not painful to move, which is really important. And you can do, you can even, if you have any of my videos, you know, like the what is it called, the brain NeuroMovement,
Whole brain body fitness.
Whole brain body fitness. You select some of those lessons and you take it and just teach them. You know, you say where they came from, teach them, and make it playful with the children. Adapt. You'll see that if you do that, they won't just get the benefit of dancing and feeling happier. They will actually probably get some gains, functional gains from that beyond what they've been getting already with you. So thank you for your question.
And she also added a follow-up. How do you help a student manage his or her emotions during an adaptive dance class who wants to hear the same song numerous times? This student is non-verbal but will yell and injure himself. I'm trying to teach turn-taking and being fair to others and their musical tastes and requests.
I think, I don't know for sure, but you can't teach a child at this stage fairness. It's a very American concept, which is wonderful, but it's not a young child concept. It's that he's not able to, you know, he can't do that. And what I will do, I mean, I don't know what I will do, to tell you the truth, because I always respond in the immediate, but I can tell you some ideas. One is have his parent, his mom or whoever brings in, come a little early. And I would sit him down and I would say to him, we're going to play the song you like. And then, and you say, and we're going to then stop. And then we're going to come back to it later again. And you give him an example what that means, because I have no idea what he understands, right? So I start the song, and then you can use what I already said in the previous, I mean, I don't know if you heard the previous learning switch one, but you can say, I'm going to stop it and I'm going to count to 3. And you're going to wait. And if he screams, you stop and you say, when you scream, there is no music. I'm not going to turn it on when you scream. But you have to maybe do a whole session with him separately where you have a lot of time. So you don't try to, so I'm changing my suggestion a bit. Maybe have the mom bring him to a private session with you once and work with that. And he screams but have it ready. If he stops, if he takes a break in doing it, turn the music on. He starts screaming, turn the music off. Reverse what happens, because usually people give him the music so he stops screaming and yelling. And that might not do it. You know, he might need more to be able to do it. And I think that, I don't know, if it were me, I either would work with him privately until he's able to handle it, or have the adult take him out of the room so he doesn't disrupt the whole group, because there's a whole group. But something like that. I don't know if it's helpful. I have no idea what the situation is. But this child really would benefit from lessons, I think, from us too, because a system that works like that, a nervous system that works like that, is self-limiting to an extent that is painful. I mean, painful to them and painful for me to know and watch. It will give him enormous value and liberation when he evolves to the point where he doesn't do that, because he has no control. So, but it's also partially learned. it's always a combination. So that's the best I can do right now. And keep us posted. I'd love to hear if you tried it. Do come back and let us know how it goes.
Question from Michelle Clark. I know screen time can have negative effects on a child's brain. Can it reduce the effectiveness of NeuroMovement lessons?
Absolutely. One of the things that, okay, so sometimes we use, we have a iPad or something, and we have some images on to get the child initially focused on something and start working with them. But with me, without exception, it moves on to not doing it because the brain gets organized to be internally focused and in a learning mode, so it doesn't. Screen time will distract. But assuming that the child is just getting a lesson and everything is working well, I will not do screen time for at least a few hours. If nothing else, it just tends to throw the brain right back to its habitual way of organizing itself around the screen, which is so we need to allow the changes in the brain to take hold and to associate to other things. And it might take different ways. Sometimes parents take the child to a park, but if the child is tired, you just feed them and sit and read stories with them. And and some children that are, I don't know, really dependent on the screen time can raise a fuss, and then we work with the fuss. Just like what Lisa said, that is part of what needs to be worked with, because this is not a mechanism of effective functioning in the world. Some adults get away with it, but most don't. Yeah.
Question from Kavita again. Love the tip of stopping the video and creating anticipation. Any other tips that could be used for babies?
Used for babies to do what?
I guess
Kavita?
The imagination. Essential.
We I don't do babies, very young babies, imagination, but anticipation. Yes, you can use it. Babies understand a lot, even it's just from your tone of voice. If they don't even understand all the words, or by movement, you start a movement and you go like, oh, and then you continue it. I mean, you create anticipation in so many ways.
Yeah, and using sound in relation to the movement as well. I mean, I use that a lot. And, you can sort of like change the speed and the rate with which you're doing the movement, and the tone of your voice changes. So they're not sure when it's going to stop or when it's going to do the next thing.
And they're attending to it, that's the powerful part. Is that like changing a diaper? You can say, time to change a diaper. Any way you do it, when you sniff the baby's butt and then you go and change the diaper, they also learn that maybe this is coming. But you can and then you put them on their back and you say, okay, now I'm going to hold this leg, and I'm going to pick you up, roll you up. And listen, the first one we open, the second, the what do you call it, the thing that sticks, Velcro
tab,
the tab, the Velcro tab, and then you go like, now we're gonna open, and then you can even and you don't do it each time you change a diaper, but if you just do it a little bit, the babies who resist being changed the diaper, the resistance will go way down, because what Neil said earlier, when you do that and they start anticipating, it's like the difference between driving the car on a very wavy road or sitting in the seat next to the driver, which makes it harder to not get dizzy or nauseated, or sitting in the back of the car, but makes it even worse. So you have them have the feeling that they are navigating and moving the car. And that also gets them smarter, and it turns on the learning switch. And when the learning switch is on, it learns other things better too. It's not the content that you do but contents are always there. But when the brain is a learning brain, it learns. Okay, next. We have a little bit more time left.
So, question from Nedi Safa. When I watch you work with somebody on the table, it looks like you're moving things together that could move together and separating things that don't have to move together. Would you say that's the essence of the lessons?
No. Absolutely not. Well, I move things together, reduce differentiation and then more differentiation. This is just
It's one aspect.
Well, yeah, but I wouldn't word it that way.
No.
I mean, I don't think it that way at all. But it's okay. It's a good observation. The interpretation is not how I think. But the thing is, what I'm after in a lesson, the first and foremost, most important thing is to connect to the child. That's it. Without it, I wouldn't even know how to give a lesson, our work, right? And then the next thing, when I do that, to feel where the child is at, and I know the story, I know the background, I know the medical stuff, I know what the child is or isn't doing. So I have all that in my brain. I mean, all that informs me. And then I start moving the child in ways that turn on the learning switch, using the essentials to in a specific context to get the brain to resume, to wake up into creating tons of new connections. It sounds very theoretical, but since you asked, in a functional context. But I'm not trying to make the child do an outcome. I'm taking the child through a process where the outcomes will occur spontaneously. And one of the things that we have to guide parents is to observe and notice changes in the child. Now, parents very often say, "Oh, I saw some small changes." And what are small changes? They're changes that are not the changes the parent was hoping to see already, right? So a big change is standing up or walking for the first time. A small change is the child is happier and they are able to, they track with their eyes, now, which they didn't do before. I'm just making up an example. Well, these are huge changes. For the eyes to track, which they couldn't do, it's a huge change in the functioning of the brain. And it depends, but it's oftentimes a necessary change for the eventual big changes to happen. And if you think of the brain as a quantum system, that there isn't a small change or a big change. There's either a change or no change. So the other thing I look for when I work with anyone is to see if I'm getting a flow of reorganization that spontaneously is generated by the person that I'm working with. Or in other words, a flow of changes. And the changes can be in the tonus of the muscle or in the fact that the child already says a word all of a sudden for the first time, or the head turns to the other side, which it doesn't normally do. I have a learning brain, and a learning brain in a child develops into learning what other children learn to do.
Fantastic.
Well, I have for sure one amazing fan that encourages me and that is wonderful for me. And I hope you too are finding value in this. Let us know. And thank you, Neil, for always setting everything up and contributing so wonderfully.
Thank you, Anat.
Yeah, and let us know. I would love to have some feedback in terms of how this is working for people. Yeah.
Fabulous.
Okay.
Thank you. See you next time.
Thank you for joining us on NeuroMovement Revolution with Anat Baniel. You will find all of our podcasts and additional resources on our website at www.anatbanielmethod.com. You can also subscribe to this podcast for free on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, and TuneIn. We look forward to seeing you online for our next NeuroMovement Revolution.